middle rung of what is now the USF Pro Championships. Those you hear trackside, this program formerly known as the Road to Indy, an off-season rebranding, has dialed us in and got us ready to go for what should be a tremendous season. We've got 21 drivers here in the USF Pro Championships in the USF2000 category. Big news actually coming out recently that we are thrilled to bring Discount Tire on board with us as the entitlement sponsor of our driver development scholarship program. Again, great to have them with us. Rob Howden alongside Todd Lewis. Our drivers just getting ready to pull out from behind the paddock wall. We have our crews on to pit lane as well as the NTT IndyCar Series drivers and cars have vacated pit lane. So we're about set to go for qualifying for the drivers in USF 2000. Discount Tire is the official tire retailer of the USF Pro Championships presented by Cooper Tires. The company was established in 1960 and today has over 1,100 plus stores across 37 states. Continuing the vision of founder Bruce T. Halley, the company has grown from a single storefront to become one of the most trusted tire and wheel retailers by fostering community connections and honoring customer and employee relationships. In addition to the official tire retailer status, Discount Tire will entitle the USF Pro Championship Scholarship Program the Discount Tire Driver Advancement Scholarship, which will continue to provide an unprecedented scholarship-funded path up the motorsports ladder with over $1.3 million in prize money and awards on offer for the 2023 champions in USF 2000, USF 2000 Pro, and USF Juniors. Todd, pretty impressive thing. That's one of the big things about this USF Pro Championships is simply the scholarship program. It's just absolutely fantastic. There are so many drivers that wouldn't have been able to continue their career if they got to the NTT IndyCar Series or an IMSA sports cars, whatever it may be. Their career would have stalled had they not won a championship as part of this program.
We hear so many drivers so thankful for this program, speaking in interviews years and years after they have graduated through the different rungs of the program, saying, this was a key to my success. I don't know that my racing career would have continued a few years ago if it was not for the scholarship program. And we see them graduate to have success, too. We just watched the NTT IndyCar Series qualifying, and how many graduates of the program were participating and up near the top of the time.
Well, how many scholarships did Kyle Kirkwood get? He won on every level. He won USF 2000, he won USF Pro 2000, and he won the Indy Next category as well. So this guy's cashed in big time. We saw guys like Spencer Piggott be able to win a bunch of championships, Oliver Askew. The same went for Renus VK as he was a USF Pro 2000 champion. A number of drivers, of course, coming through this fantastic ladder system and Anderson promotion. Super excited, along with Cooper Tire, to have Discount Tire with us now as well. Obviously a major name in that market. To have them on board with us is a super big positive.
Seeing the validity of the program as well and wanting to be part of that. Simon Sykes led the group of USF 2000 cars out onto the track. They're just out at the end of pit lane now. Quickest in this morning's practice. I'm just thinking it's been a long time since these drivers were on track, and there is going to be a lot different about this racing surface than they experienced earlier today.
Yeah, not only did they have the chance to go in and look over the data of their teammates and overlay it. Here's my braking mind. This guy's braking a little deeper than you. He's on the throttle earlier than you. They've got in their mindset that they can change the way they attack every corner. And then, of course, going to be presented, as you said, with a racetrack that's ridiculously different now that the NTT IndyCar Series have been out there. Indy Next has been out there. A number of different categories since they rolled out here this morning to go on track. So the grip levels are going to be up. At least the winds died down a little bit because it was pretty aggressive for them early on, but I think it will be an interesting session. The track will be significantly different.
All right, interested to see what comes up. The cars are out at the end of pit lane. We should be getting going momentarily. It's just, one straggler is just coming out across the track now, so we'll get them all lined up, and then we should be set to go for USF 2000 qualifying for the first of two races this weekend. They'll be racing tomorrow here in the streets of St. Petersburg and then back again on Sunday as part of their doubleheader weekend.
Indeed. A midday race tomorrow, then first thing in the morning on Sunday, and then we'll wrap up the entire weekend. For those of you who will be trackside throughout the weekend, you don't have to take off after the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. After the Indy cars are done, we have one more race still coming. The USF Pro 2000 drivers will be on track, so you don't need to get out there into the traffic. Just hang out, grab yourself another cold beer, and get a chance to watch the future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series. As Todd had mentioned from the get-go, the fastest driver in the single lone practice session here today, Simon Sykes from Atlanta, Georgia, in that number 22 machine running for Pabst Racing, former Team USA scholarship winner. He was also a two-time SCCA National Championships runoff winner, the FRPF 1600 championship winner at one point. This guy has driven a ton of stuff and has been successful, but the one thing he doesn't have is a lot of budget, doesn't have the family funding to be able to kind of race full-time and and move his way up the ranks. The skill is there, but there's an opportunity potentially here this year with Pabst Racing, as we know, are one of the powerhouse teams in USF 2000 competition.
And a lot of good teams in this level of the USF championships and throughout. Pabst Racing, you mentioned, as one of them, and some of the others. It's nice to see Elliot Cox back in with the Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing team as well. We mentioned that this morning, that it's great to see them back involved in this series as well.
It is. Sarah Fisher and Andy O'Gara, of course, Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing Development. If you're an IndyCar fan, you remember Sarah Fisher's many years as part of the program, then as a team owner as well. They were the ones that essentially brought on a young Joseph Newgarden and gave him his first opportunity to run in the program. Of course, he's gone on to fame and fortune running with Penske Racing, an IndyCar champion. And we'll see whether or not that happens for Elliot Cox as well. But it's a small one-car effort right now running in USF 2000. They ran in our USF Juniors category last year. They've been good in testing. We were actually on track at Sebring International Raceway this early in this week, Monday and Tuesday, and Elliot was very fast there. We'll see if it transitions into running here on the streets of St. Petersburg. It was kind of an up-and-down session in practice. We had a couple of incidents with a number of drivers, but otherwise I think everybody was able to get some laps in, and I would expect to see them attack a little more, although they're going to want to gap out to try to get some open racetrack. They're not going to be trying to really work on drafting. It'll be better just to get that open track so you're not held up by any other drivers.
When we saw the USF Pro 2000 qualifying session a little bit earlier, we talked about how you approach the qualifying. You don't know what's going to happen in this, what will likely be an abbreviated session. You want to get out, get a good lap in, bank a lap, make sure that you have at what you believe to be a decent starting position. Then in the remaining minutes, then you can try to improve upon it. Go a little deeper into a corner or try to pick up and improve on a lap, but make sure that you get a good lap in. You don't want to put yourself behind before you even start.
That's it. If you go out and push too early over the first couple laps, get yourself into the wall and find yourself at the tail of the field, you have really ruined your day, because there's only one qualifying. So you take your two best laps. Your fastest lap will set the grid for race number one. Your second fastest lap sets your grid for race number two. Now, you do have an opportunity to go faster in race one to improve on a lap. So a driver like Joel Granforce, who had an issue in the USF Pro 2000 qualifying session, didn't get a lap in, he could turn a really good lap in the race and potentially move his way up the order for race number two. Otherwise, as we said, Simon Sykes was significantly quicker, almost 6/10 clear of the field in that Pabst Racing machine. The veteran driver who's run here a lot at St. Petersburg, so he does have that advantage over a driver like Lockie Hughes, who was second quick, who has never been here before. Rookie in the program, running for Jay Howard Driver Development. Lockie in that number 8 machine, one of the Australians we have in the program this year. Behind him, Sam Corey of Cornelius, North Carolina, one of our front runners for VRD Racing and USF Juniors last year. Ivagoras Papasavas as well for Jay Howard Driver Development, and then the number 6, and young Nikita Johnson from nearby Gulfport, Florida here. He was here for the opening of the event, I think 14 years of age now. He may not be 15 years of age yet, but he is a very talented young driver who we're going to see run near the front of this grid all weekend long.
That's what you find in this USF 2000 series, is young, talented teenagers that are starting to make their way, some of them coming up from cards, some through the USF Juniors prior to getting to the USF 2000 series. If you listen to the USF Insider podcast, as I, of course, did in advance of this season starting here in St. Petersburg, you learn an awful lot about these young drivers as well, and so many of them, again, teenagers going through high school. Some of them made it past high school into college now, but this is what they do on the weekends, is they leave and go to race cars at tracks around North America.
We're going to see a number of drivers as well coming through the Skip Barber Racing School, which is the new official school partner we have of USF Pro Championships. And you look back at the drivers who have come through that program, the Joseph Newgardens, the Gabi Chavez, Connor Daly, Connor De Felipe. You just keep going through Alexander Rossi, people who have run in that program. We're thrilled to be with them. The Skip Barber Racing School is the official racing school of the USF Pro Championships, and they're inviting drivers to compete for over $500,000 in prizes, including a $100,000 scholarship for the series champion to enter USF Juniors in 2024. The 8-weekend 16-race series takes place at the most iconic tracks in America with high visibility and pro-race atmosphere. The Skip Barber Formula car features a 160 horsepower turbo engine, paddle shifts, 6-speed transmission, and Goodyear Eagle Racing slick tires. You'll have a professional crew, expert instruction, video and data analysis, hospitality, and more. Sign up today at skipbarber.com. Engines coming to life down on pit lane. We are set to go. It's a 30-minute session qualifying for the drivers here in USF 2000. And Todd, not only is this a qualifying session, but for some of the rookies, almost the mindset it's another practice session, more chance to learn the racetrack. You don't just need to go for that ultimate lap because you only need 2 of them, right? You need 2 really good laps, but why not spend the entire 30 minutes learning the racetrack, getting a feel for it again, because you've only been here one kind of a bit of a truncated session early on. We had a couple of reds. So use this session. We're going to cross our fingers it goes green to checker. That's
exactly it. Was we discussed that you want to get as much green flag track time as you can. We'll go for the full 30 minutes. That's a lot of laps that you can put in. That's a lot of learning that you can do in this brand new series. For so many of these drivers, they are rookies through the series. Give yourself a little bit of room. Try to find a little bit of clear track. Get yourself a good time that will give you a reasonable starting spot, and then try to make as many laps as possible. Learn what you can. Get as much as you can out of each session.
And we say this all the time. For a rookie driver, the number one goal is to roll the car back into the paddock under its own power every session. Every session. You do not want to come back on the hook. You don't want to lose any laps. Because there was a time a couple of years ago, we looked at it. The guys that actually won here in St. Petersburg weren't the drivers who won the championship. Everybody thought I got to win in the first round. There were lots of times when the 2 guys that would win races didn't go on to win the championship. You have to be consistent throughout the entire season, and really just even a top 5 finish here still keeps you in championship contention.
Give yourself a good starting position as well for the championship as well as the race. You can't win the championship the first weekend, but you can really set yourself back into a problem area if you have a difficult start to the weekend here at St. Petersburg in these first 2 races. So we'll see, and of course we see as we look, they just completed the first lap. We saw 3 or 4 cars just almost paired up side by side. So let's hope that they get around.
I'm glad I wasn't looking over there for that, because that obviously would have been a bit of an issue for sure. So indeed, drivers working their way out onto the track right now, getting set to put some big laps down. They're just going to get some heat built into these tires a little bit here. Working their way through the hairpin, turn number 12. A shot out of turn number 12, coming all the way down the straightaway. Again, we'll say hello to those of you who are tuned in to the USF Pro Championships presented by Cooper Tires YouTube channel. You can be watching on USF2000.com as well. This is that 2-3 combination. You kind of snake your way through it. The walls are kind of snaking, but the drivers, you can see, a big wide berth coming down. Here's the long straightaway that comes into turn number 4. This is the tough part of this racetrack as well. Talked to a couple of drivers, Todd, early in the day, and they told me about the big bump right essentially at the apex of turn number 3. We had a couple of drivers with a bunch of oversteer in it. Nothing like happened at Indy Next, where we had a couple of drivers get aggressively into the wall coming through that corner. One of them, of course, being Hunter McElroy.
That's the unique part about these city streets, is that they change, they evolve every year, and you're going to find certain parts of the track that are a little different than you may have remembered them. Not so much for the rookie drivers who are new to the series, but you may find things just a little bit different than you remember. And that's a new bump. Yep. That's gonna behave a little differently as I make my way through this corner.
And that's what you hope you're able to see in the track walk. You know, you're kind of going on the track walk. All the engineers have notes from the year before. You're going to be braking here. Here's where a bump we have to watch out. They all pick up something a bit different. We have one driver who has rolled into pit lane already. That's Jacob Douglas in the number 91. Not sure what's going on with the UB. Although actually, that's not Douglas. That's the 91 of Joey Brienza. Brienza into pit lane in the number 91. Douglas in the number 90. They were 9th and I believe a 13th. Brienza 13th, Douglas 9th in the opening practice session. So Brienza into pit lane early. Not sure whether that's a scheduled call for him. Maybe to come in early, go to fresh tires. We'll see.
I was going to ask, is this a possibility that we'll see tire management strategy the same way we did in the USF Pro 2000 qualifying?
Well, again, they were able to use that carryover set of tires from the spring training event at Sebring for the practice session, but you're not allowed to use that set any further into the weekend. You have to start working through your fresh tire sets when we go into, of course, qualifying in the 2 races. So, yeah, we may very much so see drivers come in, put a cup. They all rolled out on slicker tires. Put 2-3 laps in, scuff those in. I'll use those for race number 2, right, on Sunday morning. I want to make sure I have the best tires I possibly can get. Up front right now, Chase Gardner, driver out of Texas, in the number 95 for Exclusive Autosport. The Mindshift Financial number 95, a 114.484. That is only 3 laps in. Simon Sykes in second. Danny Dzelski up into third in the number 18. Dzelski out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Running for Jay Howard Driver Development in that P3 position. Lockie Hughes, his teammate, fourth, and Sam Corey now in the 5th spot. I had said Danny Dzelski running for Jay Howard. That was last year. He's actually with Dan Mitchell's VRD racing team this year. And we've had a bunch of drivers kind of make moves across the aisle, if you will, to go to another team. So that's something we'll pick up on. Dzelski running for VRD Racing. And they've got a really good lineup because such a good season last year for VRD Racing and USF Juniors. They were able to bring 2 of their big guns, Sam Corey and Nikita Johnson, up to USF2000. They're young drivers, still 14, 15 years of age, but with a ton of talent that we'll be watching here throughout the season.
Great if they can do that, build the relationship with the team as they're entering into the USF Juniors, and then follow the rest of the ladder up and maintain that relationship, build and develop and learn and grow and improve their performance all the way through.
And look at the three of the teams we have this year in juniors. D-Force Racing, Exclusive Autosport, and VRD. Both D-Force and Exclusive, USF Juniors, USF2000, and Pro 2000. You can literally be with a team through the entire run before jumping into Indy next. And then you've got VRD and Juniors and USF 2000. You never know. They could expand into the Pro 2000 category in 2024 as well. But they've got some really great young drivers in Juniors for this year, and they've got quality drivers in USF 2000 as well.
I'm trying not to pay too close attention to the times this early on because we know that they're going to change and they know that they're going to drop. But it's Lockie Hughes who is up on top with a 1:13.7 so far, and Sam Corey with a 1:14 flat. That's on top.
Well, let's just say this: 0.7 of a second quicker than Simon Sykes did earlier today. So the track has picked up speed. It's got rubber down as we expected, and they're going to go faster. We're not done yet, so it's probably going to be at least a full second or more quicker now that the Indy cars have laid down the rubber. And I'm always interested to see what the drivers say when the IndyCar rubber goes down. It always depends on what racetrack you're at. You mentioned earlier today, this isn't just racing pavement all the way around, right? This isn't like a proper built racetrack. We're talking airport runway, we're talking city streets, we've got some concrete. So the way the rubber from the IndyCar drivers kind of allows our drivers and the lines they have to go. Sometimes our guys are crisscrossing across IndyCar rubber because they run different racing lines. It's always intriguing for me to get the feedback from the drivers. Sometimes it's way more grip. Sometimes it's super greasy. Sometimes it gets a bit loose. So not too hot today right now. 79 degrees here trackside, so it's probably not going to be too greasy right now.
No, the track temperature is probably just a little over 100 Fahrenheit right now, so that's something we'll keep an eye for. And is that somebody stopped there? Yes, can't see who that is, and it's brought out a red flag.
Yeah, that's between turns 3 and 4. We have a driver stopped on the inside of the racetrack. Camera, of course, picking that up. Unsure which driver that is at this point, but we do have one who is came to a stop between turns 3 and turn 4. That'll bring out the red flag. Everybody will roll their way in. I wouldn't be surprised to see some people potentially go to do the tire change once we go back to green. You're not allowed to work on the car during the red, but once we go back to green, they could then jump on, get the tires changed. It's not a bad time for it right now. We've got about 8.5 minutes in. Drivers all working their way back down here. Being told it could be the 22. That's Simon Sykes, a driver we expected to go for the pole position. It is tough for Simon Sykes here right now, as he currently sits. Oh, it sounds like he may have made contact in turn number 3. He is P2 on the racetrack, on the order, a 1:13.9. But he may have been one of the drivers pushing hard and then had some trouble with that mid-apex bump in turn number 3 and could have had some contact with the outside wall. So Simon Sykes, who I would tell you coming into this weekend would be the guy that I would have put some money on potentially winning both races with the experience he has and with the team he's with, Pabst Racing, has found himself a bit behind the 8 ball right now.
We have seen this in the past with drivers who have had difficulty. It sort of sets you behind for the weekend. It can have devastating effects on your performance, trying to climb through the field if you're forced to start deep in the field, or as we detailed in the USF Pro 2000, Christian Brooks had that terrible season opener last year, and it set him behind for the whole year. Let's hope that that's certainly not the case. It doesn't look to be that serious with Simon Sykes, but it just illustrates the importance of getting as many laps as you can, spending as much time on track as you can to learn every lap.
Well, here's the problem right now. He's got a lot of lap times here, a lot of track time. He's been around this place quite a bit. But the issue here is what this could do for him. Bringing the red flag out, he's going to lose his fastest lap. So that's going to drop him deeper in the field if they're not able to get this thing repaired quickly and get him back out, there's only 19 minutes. If he's bent, the wishbones on the left rear of that car, he could be out of this session. And he's gonna find himself somewhere mid-pack. And I don't know how many great laps he's put in, but we're told we do have a replay, so we'll see if we can't have a look. I'm expecting we're going to see him just get that mid-corner loose, coming out of the corner. Look at the rear of that car all the way out. And then he's out in the marbles, and he essentially punches it center. Now, you may not have bent the suspension, but when you have a center punch like that, of that impact, sometimes a lot of that force is going to go right through the gearbox through there, and then at that point, ouch, because it could get expensive.
This is the part where they're going to get the car back to pit lane as quickly as they can to try to dissect if there is a serious problem. And at first glance, it might not appear as though there's any bent suspension. Things might be okay, but this is where you need to dig a little deeper just to make sure that underneath the car on the bodywork where you can't see that there hasn't been a problem.
Well, they'll have to pull the gearbox apart to see what could potentially be broke. But you could see what happened there. Same thing. Into the corner, lost the rear over that bump, and then had the big overcorrection to try to hold on to it. Then he really wasn't able to get it corrected. And at that point, he was outside the groove, outside the racing line, and kind of got sliding sideways. If we can rack that up again, I'd love to be able to have a look at that again now that we've seen it for the first time, because, again, a bit of an issue there for Simon Sykes, and we are seeing this happen right now. They mentioned potentially looking at that corner. Is there something they can do? Because there's been a couple of drivers who've had trouble rolling through turn number 3.
There's a lot of talk about corner number 1, but then you have the combination 2 and 3 right away, and this is what's been biting people today.
Yeah, it almost looks to me like he was a little bit outside and didn't get right down to the apex because he was quite a ways out. But again, exactly what that was. He was into the corner. The car got loose on him over that bump. Correction. You could just see the thing kind of just wash all the way out to the wall, and he really flat-sided it against the wall coming out of turn number 3. So obviously Simon wisely knew that was a pretty hard hit, bring it to the inside. We'll cross our fingers. It's nothing too aggressive in terms of car damage, but the bottom line is this. The red flag has come out. Time is winding down. If they can't get him back out on the racetrack, causing the red flag will mean he'll lose his fastest lap. Remember, it's the 2 fastest laps that you need. In fact, they're going to take him behind the wall here now. So that is going to be it for Simon Sykes in the 22. Wow, this is seriously a shift in what we expected to start this season. When Simon Sykes and the Pabst Racing Machine were hoping to have a really good weekend and potentially build some momentum heading to Sebring at the end of the month.
So immediately the speculation begins that they were visibly able to see, I think, that he's not continuing. He's not going any further in this session. Let's clear it out. Let's get everybody else back out and give them as much qualifying time as possible. But you're right. Now we need to wait and see where Simon Sykes is going to shake out in terms of the starting grid for race number 1 tomorrow and how that's going to domino and impact the rest of the weekend.
And I'm always kind of selfish about this. I feel horrible for Simon, but if he is mid-pack, we're going to be talking about Simon Sykes. As commentators, we're going to be able to see him come to the front because you know that he will be attacking like crazy coming from the tail of the field. And again, an opportunity to potentially lay down a fast lap. If they put some fresh rubber on the car and he's able to get a couple really good laps and maybe using the toe, it might help him for a starting position in race number 2, which will take place on Sunday morning. But engines firing, drivers will roll back out here again, and we'll see what happens because I'm sure they will put the penalty in here momentarily, and he will fall down live timing. We'll be able to get a look, and indeed, watching where he's still P2. So we'll see whether or not they actually affect the penalty. They often do that in live timing. We may see him fall down the order. Well, remember, there's still 16 minutes for everybody to find more pace. They're able to put fresh tires on, make some minor adjustments. But right now, Lockie Hughes up top there in the J. Howard Driver Development Machine. Simon Sykes for Pabst Racing still second. Sam Corey for VRD third. Nicholas D. Orlando just got announced running this weekend with Exclusive Autosport. He is in fourth. And Nikita Johnson for VRD fifth. Chase Gardner, Jacob Douglas, Danny Dzelski, Evagoras Papasavas, and Elliot Cox rounding out the top 10. 21 young drivers in the field, anywhere from, I think, 14 to, I want to say, 24 years of age. I think Andre Castro about 23 or 24.
And probably gets ridiculed for being 24 years of age, right?
Yeah. And we just did a Q&A with him in the Cooper Tire stage, and it was awesome. He was here in 2017 when we launched the brand new Tatis USF2000 race car. He didn't have a good weekend. But he said, I was a high schooler back then. I've gone all the way through college. He's only run 5 USF2000 race weekends. It seems like a lot more for Andre, but he's been driving F1600 and a bunch of different cars. He went and raced a couple Formula Ford races in Europe as well. So he's had seat time. Another Team USA scholarship winner through Jeremy Shaw's program, but just has never had the opportunity to run another full season. He's with Future Star Racing. I'd love to see him get his way into the top 10 here. He ran last year in USF Juniors and kind of led a brand new team, International Motorsports, to get a feel for their car. He was kind of that lead development driver for the team. Had some good finishes, finished in the top 5 in points. He'd love to be able to do it here with Future Star as well.
Anxious to see what they can do moving up to the USF2000 series. Everybody's had a lap now to just start to get those tires cleared back off, get a little bit of heat generated back in them, and we'll see once they come around, they can start to put down a little more speed around this track. And not really finding anybody who's, yes, that is or maybe that might just have been Al Morey was looking for a little bit of space out on track there.
Yeah, I think so. Al Morey kind of just pulled back and said he wants some open racetrack. Good idea. Temperature's still kind of holding. It's not like it's got significantly cooler here as we wrap things up here for the USF Pro Championships on the day. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow with 2 races, 1 for each of the categories. Same thing on Sunday, 1 race each, doubleheader weekend for the drivers here at USF 2000 and USF Pro 2000. I expect we'll start to see some times coming down here, maybe the next lap around. They've been able to scuff these new tires up and be able to go to work. We'll look to find ourselves with some drivers working their way up the top. Fast lap so far, a 113.78 for Lockie Hughes. That came back on lap number 4. So Hughes out of Gold Coast, Australia, running for J. Howard Driver Development. I think he did a one-off event last year. He also ran in the F4 Series. Great to have him as part of this USF Pro Championships this year. And I think Lockie Hughes would be a guy that's going to surprise some people. We haven't seen him that much, obviously. He didn't run USF Juniors last year, but I think he'll be a driver we're going to be talking about throughout the entire 2023 season. He's a very talented young pilot.
You mentioned that he ran the F4 Series. We've seen a lot of drivers, whether it's USF 2000 or USF Pro 2000, who will run other series. They'll pick up events here and there. Just again, to try to get as much track time and as much experience as they can, but find them and dedicate themselves to the full program here, because this is where the benefits are. This is where the scholarship is, and it's their best opportunity to move forward.
It's like you run what you're able to budget-wise until you can figure out a way to get into the USF Pro Championship. But I'll do whatever I can to kind of get to the right spot, and then when I'm into the ladder system, you've kind of funneled yourself in to, of course, the successful program, that road that takes you all the way to the NTT IndyCar Series. Hughes still up on top. Now we've got some drivers starting to put good lap times down. Johnson, Papasava, Zach Ping now up into the top 10. He goes 7th. Chase Gardner 8th. Danny Dzelski 9th. Matt Clark laying down a good lap. USF Juniors champion now running for D-Force Racing. He gets himself up to 11th. It looked to me like Clark, watching the video there, was kind of just taking it easy for the first couple of laps, so never really got a chance to put a good lap in before Simon brought out that red flag. I expect to see Mac work his way up the order very, very soon.
And again, that's a sign of a driver who's maybe a little bit older, I guess kind of in the median age of about 18 now, so try to find yourself a little bit of space out on track. Don't feel that you have to go for it on the first lap. You've got a whole 30-minute session, and even if there is a bit of a red flag, you've still got time. You don't have to try to rush that one good lap.
And Matt Clark's not a young guy coming out here. He ran in karting. He did a couple of years at F1600 up in Ontario, up in Canada, was a champion there. Ran in the F4 Series, did some F4 races, won the USF Juniors category last year. They have brought him along, running some really, really good programs, and he will be the one that we'll watch work his way forward. But a red flag again. Another red flag has come out on the racetrack. Man, we are having trouble running full, as that looks like Chase Gardner has gone off over in, I believe, turn number 8. Right at the start of the 8-9 complex. So Chase Gardner has overcooked it, the exclusive Autosport driver, deep into the corner. Not sure if there's another driver involved there as well, but that is Chase Gardner straight off into the barriers. Now, maybe doesn't look like there's rear wing damage. Maybe he just nosed it in. Potentially just went into the corner pretty deep and locked it up and pushed off. Gardner coming in there had just moved his way up into the 9th spot, so had laid down a pretty good lap time. And listen, any race car driver will tell you that when they look down at the dash and all of a sudden they've got the best lap, and then the lap starts going. One of the things you have to know, folks, is on the dash, you can see if you're up on your best lap. Those are a little telltale that, yeah, you're trending in the right direction, and that'll get a driver to keep pushing a little more. Oh, I'm faster. And oftentimes you'll go deep into a corner, maybe a little too deep. You lock the brakes up, trying to keep up that fast lap. I think that's probably what happened to Chase. Just pushing hard, locked it up, going into turn number 8. And that's a crucial corner to get a lot of speed through 8 and 9 to roll back out on that long straightaway down to turn 10. Very important.
Carry the momentum through. We've just passed under 10 minutes left in this qualifying session for USF2000. Chase Gardner that they are trying to extricate from that barrier curse. Apparently we do have a replay. Let's have a look at that. We'll see what exactly happened here as he took the car into the barrier.
I wonder whether or not he actually might have tapped the wall coming through. Let's see if we can have another look at that. If you look back, we just kind of jumped it quickly. He may have tapped the wall coming through there with the right front. That would have set the car around a little bit. We'll see if we can't re-rack that and have a look at that issue. As he comes through, does he tap the wall? He does not. No, you know what? And what's happening in that corner is you're transitioning back, coming through the right. As you come through the right, remember the car really kind of intrinsically wants to get loose coming through the corner. It seems to me like he probably just had it floating a little bit, and just wasn't able to get the car righted and then straight into the barriers.
Eventually you run out of room, and that's why you end up into the tires. And the question is, how deep into those tires is that car buried, and how quickly can they get him pulled out, and how much track time will remain in this USF2000 qualifying session?
And let's just say this time, while it happened, because this is crucial, as that happened, Sam Corey went to P1. That's the other thing as well. We had Lockie Hughes up top, but the VRD racing driver to Cornelius, North Carolina, Sam Corey, a winner last year in USF Juniors, goes P1 by just 11 thousandths of a second over Lockie Hughes, a 113.778. So Sam Corey, rookie in this series, can he hold on? How long is this going to take? Will Sam Corey end up with the pole position? Right now, he and Lockie Hughes, P1 and P2. Simon Sykes still sitting there in third. I don't know whether or not they've penalized him as of yet. Evagoras Papasavas has worked his way up into fourth. Nikita Johnson, fifth. Jacob Douglas up into sixth. Nicholas D. Orlando, seventh. Zach Ping, Chase Gardner, and Danny Dzelski. Of course, Gardner will lose his fast lap based on bringing up the red flag. Jorge Garcias is in 11th. Matt Clark in 12th. Gordon Scully, 13th. Andre Castro, 14th. Joey Brienza in 15th. Elliot Cox in 16th, Trey Burke, Lucas St. Jean, Al Morey, Maxwell, Jameson, and Avery Towns rounding out the 21 drivers in the field. And the issue here is with the young drivers, we have not had a good long run where they're able to get into a groove. Sometimes it's going to take you 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 laps before you get into that groove, before you lay that one big lap down. And every time they've been getting almost there, we've thrown a red flag on them. We really haven't given them a chance to stretch their legs and really go at it.
Yeah, that's where the frustration comes in for the drivers as well. It's like, okay, then after you have a red flag or two, it's okay, I better put one in because I may run out of time, and you end up going a little bit too deep or trying a little bit too hard, and it results in tragedy often. So let's hopefully that we get this cleared up and we can get back to some green flag running in these final 7 minutes that are remaining in this USF2000 qualifying session here for the first of 2 races this weekend. Tomorrow midday here on our Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding Schedule. Then they'll be back again on Sunday morning. USF Pro 2000 will race also midday tomorrow, and then following the IndyCar race on Sunday to wrap up this edition on the 3 days.
Again, as we said, if you are trackside here and watching the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, the IndyCar drivers, when they're all wrapped up and done, when the podium's finished, you don't need to take off. Get back to your seat, grab another cold beer, and watch USF Pro 2000. No need to jump out into the traffic. Come and watch one more race, enjoy yourself, and get back out. Thought we heard an engine fire, but I think we're still on the red flag at this point here. No, yellow's been shown here at start-finish, so we are close to getting things underway. Just over 6 minutes still to go. Hopefully we get rolling. That's going to be enough for probably at least 4 laps, maybe 5 laps if you get through quick enough. That's more than enough time to lay down a fast lap. So ideally, we'll be able to have some late session heroics here for USF2000. As I said, 21 drivers in the field, many of them coming from the USF Juniors program, a number coming back from last year. But to be honest, a lot of our drivers from last year, I think our top 11 drivers, all either moving up into the USF Pro 2000 category, some of them moving on to some sports car opportunities. But you got to go back to Jacob Douglas in 12th position, who was really one of the top drivers who was kind of knocking on the door at the end of last year. He's the top returning driver, I think, from 12th position. So he's the guy I expect to be up front. We've got so many great drivers coming from that USF Juniors program.
It's the great news of the talented drivers that are coming into the USF Juniors and then graduating to USF2000. A little over 5 minutes left as we're green, and everybody has streamed out of pit lane already, trying to find a little space for qualifying.
Now, you mentioned the urgency of all these red flags. We just amped that up a little bit, right? Because now there's 5 minutes to go. Not, before it was, well, we've had a bunch of red flags, but I still got 15 minutes left. Now there's literally 5 minutes to go. You have to put a lap down. But the mindset has to be this. My best lap needs to be my last lap. I don't need to do it right now. I don't need to do it in the next 2 laps. I got to make sure I get these heat built up in my tires. I'm hitting my marks. The last lap's going to be my best one. The car is going to be as light as it's going to be for the entire session, and the tires will be up to temperature.
It looks like that's what a number of these drivers are doing, a little bit of weaving back and forth on certain parts of the course where it's a little wider and you have a little bit of room, and trying to come across the timing line, which is just past turn 10, so that you are hitting maximum speed. The timing line is ahead of the entrance to pit lane for the qualifying session.
All right, so the drivers working their way down here into turn number 1, that wide turn 1. You can see them try to kind of hang out there on the IndyCar grip, let the car rotate through. The wind has died down significantly from what it was earlier today, so the cars will be a lot more balanced than they were, although I did talk to a number of the drivers, and I expected them to have a more negative comment on the way that the wind was kind of affecting the car. Most drivers said they couldn't feel it that much. A couple of spots maybe, a little bit of rotation, turn number 1 a little bit, coming out of 1, transitioning to 1, maybe into turn number 4 as well. But most just said the wind was right in their face coming down into the final corner, the hairpin. They were able to go really deep on the brakes, having all that wind push down on the arrow coming into the corner.
Extra wind, extra downforce helps the car stick a little bit through there. So everybody's had a lap to get themselves sorted out. Tires warmed back up and up to temperature. Just under 3.5 minutes remaining, so probably a couple of more timed flying laps before the end of this session.
And we'll keep an eye on which drivers go quicker. 2 drivers having issues, Simon Sykes and Chase Gardner. Both of those drivers had just turned their fastest laps when they had their issues and brought out the red flag. So again, there's your sense of urgency. You just turned a good lap. This car's coming in. I'm going to push hard. Sykes with an issue in turn number 3, and then the issue with Chase Gardner losing the rear end as he tried to rotate coming down into the 8-9 complex. So again, drivers, we expect to see some good laps coming indeed. The first coming from Lucas St. Jean in the number 9, as that Jay Howard driver development driver has worked his way now up into the 9th spot for Lucas St. Jean, the Canadian. And we'll watch them get some speed through here again. You'll watch the drivers try to come through that turn 5 coming at a big kind of sweeping turn 5-6. The car really has some trouble coming through there. You want it to track back through 8 and 9, then the big run down to turn number 10. And Todd, this could be a good couple of minutes to cap things off.
And it's the different parts of this race course almost require different sorts of skills. The back part of the course, the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's a bit of a rhythm part of the course. You want to carry the momentum through and just have the car move smoothly and easily. There's other parts where you're a little more aggressive in charging some of the corners, and you have to know where you are.
Well, turn number 1, right? You got to just get that down to turn number 1, really roll it into that corner, and get the thing to rotate just enough so you can get back over to turn number 2. Less than 2 minutes remaining in the session here for USF2000. And Nikita Johnson has gone to P1. Ivagoras Papasavas goes to 2nd. Nikita Johnson up to P1 in the VRD racing machine. Well, he put it P1. Andre Castro for Future Star Racing has gone to 5th. Zach Ping 6th. Trey Burke, Future Star, now 5th and 7th for Castro and Burke. Matt Clark up into the top 10, as is Joey Brienza. Brienza's gone to 10th position. So here you go, the last couple of minutes. Which drivers have it here at the end?
Just looking to see, this should be another timed lap, and they will cross in time to get one more after this one before they'll see the checkered flag, and that will be the end of their qualifying session. Going to be very interesting for about another lap and a half.
That's it, one more lap. Everybody coming across the line right now, what you see on live timing, they'll get one more lap. All these drivers coming through turn number 10 will have one more circuit. As they come out of turn 10, that's where the timing stripe is. It is Nikita Johnson on top still, Papasavas in 2nd, Sam Corey, Lockheed Hughes, Andre Castro, top 5. 6 is, make that Jacob Douglas to P5. Douglas finding some speed in the exclusive auto sport number 90. Douglas up in the roof. Andre Castro's gone to third. The Future Star Racing driver up to P3. Make it fourth as Papa Sabas and Lucky Hughes goes quicker. Hughes up to second. This is going to be a fantastic final lap. Zach Ping up into sixth. Jorge Garcias just on the outside of the top 10. Sykes looking at 10th. We're going to watch Simon Sykes having to come from outside the top 10, likely in both races. This is the final circuit. Can the drivers bring it home cleanly here? Here's the drivers coming through turn 8 and 9. Crucial to get a good rotation out of 9. The big run down to 10. Does anybody have anything for Nikita Johnson, just 14 years of age? Can he literally put it on the pole here in what is essentially his home race from Gulfport, Florida? Nikita trying to get it done. Final time across the timing stripe here. Checker flag is out. This is it for qualifying. We'll wait to see if anybody has anything better than a 113.164. Johnson looking to go pole. Here they come through for the final time. Who goes quicker? Castro still fourth. Sam Corey goes back to third. Corey back up to third spot. Johnson, Hughes, Corey, Papasavas. Trey Burke goes to fifth. Trey Burke up to fifth. Andre Castro sixth. Waiting for the final drivers to come across the line to wrap things up here for USF2000. And I think that may be it. And Lockie Hughes on the final lap, pipping Nikita Johnson by just 0.08 of a second. One driver still coming, that's Al Morey. He does not have the speed to get it done. Lockie Hughes for Jay Howard Driver Development with the pole position to start off the season. A 113.083 quicker than Nikita Johnson. Sam Corey coming home in third. We'll see the official results here. That is big for Lockie Hughes. There's no doubt about that. Johnson in second. Sam Corey third. So those are the two VRD Racing drivers in a second and third. Evagoras Papasavas and Lockie Hughes, the Jay Howard Driver Development drivers, in first and fourth. And how about Future Star Racing? They are going to have a great team dinner tonight. Fifth and sixth for that team, which is new to the USF Pro Championships. Excellent job for Trey Burke and Andre Castro. Nicholas D'Orlando leading the way for the exclusive Autosport drivers, who put two in the top 10, with D'Orlando in seventh and Brienza in ninth. Zach Ping ends up in eighth. Danny Dzelski in the 10th position, so VRD putting all their drivers in the top 10. Jacob Douglas, who was fifth at one point, wasn't able to get it done in the final circuit. He ends up 11th. Lucas St. Jean, Matt Clark back in 13th. Simon Sykes 14th, potentially without the penalty still. Jorge Garcias, Al Morey, Maxwell Jameson, Chase Gardner, Gordon Scully, and Elliot Cox. Not sure what happened with Elliot Cox down there in 20th position. He only got 3 laps, so obviously an issue with Elliot Cox. Actually, no, 3 laps was his fast lap. Trying to scroll over to see how many laps he was actually able to get in. Looks like Cox was only able to get 3 laps in. Yeah. Now 5 laps. 5 laps for him, 7 for Avery Towns. So a couple drivers at the tail of the field having issues, not able to get the full session in, which we've talked about. You need the full session. These young drivers need every lap they can possibly get. But in the end, pretty good run there for Lockie Hughes. Last lap heroics, he goes P1.
Dramatic, getting it down to almost to a 113 flat. And you mentioned it, that it's not necessarily great for Simon Sykes, but it should be nice for us, and it should be fun and exciting to watch tomorrow, midday, when the USF2000 series hits the track for their first of 2 races this weekend. Simon Sykes will be moving his way forward through the field, starting in the second half of the field. 13th, I believe, is where he sits right now unofficially. That's going to be fun to watch.
It's actually going to be USF Pro 2000 tomorrow at 11:15. They're kind of the midday race. A little bit later on for USF 2000, 3:30. So a later afternoon race for USF 2000. Looking forward to 2 great races tomorrow, 2 great races on Sunday as well. But, you know, it's always great to see how things shake down here, Todd, because you know, we did all this racing to start off the year, all this testing, finally able to see our first qualifying session. Lockie Hughes coming out of the gate strong. Nikita Johnson, Sam Corey, 3 rookies, 1, 2, 3. Those guys got to be feeling really good tonight heading into the first race tomorrow.
Rob Howden, the voice of the USF 2000 series and the USF Pro 2000 series, will be back with us tomorrow. Thanks. It was a pleasure, and look forward to a great rest of the weekend. Coming up in just a couple of seconds, we'll continue our Friday program. We've got still more to come with